I have a question for you all tonight. A good question, in my opinion. Is there a role that Paul Muni cannot play? And I think the answer is no. I think Paul Muni is one of the greatest actors of all time. If I were to make a list of top 10 best actors from the golden era, I would definitely have Paul Muni somewhere on that list. I wish he was better well known in pop culture and just in mainstream conversation. But he isn't, sadly, so I love giving a review, trying to get his name more out there. Tonight I'm obviously reviewing a movie with Paul Muni, and it's called Black Fury. It came out in 1935. It stars Paul Muni, Karen Morley, who she was in a lot of 1930s films. She continued her career far into the years, but 1930s is where she really shined. Muni was in Life of Emile Zola. It's my favorite Muni film. The Good Earth, I'm a Fugitive from a Chain Gang, and I can keep naming them, but I won't. But hopefully I'll review some of those movies in the future because those are the ones I've seen. That's why I'm reviewing this, is because I had never seen it before. And anyways, the plot of this movie is, so Paul Muni is a coal worker. He's not the smartest of guys. He's kind of a doofus. He is an immigrant from most likely somewhere in Eastern Europe, and he has a strong accent. He's kind of the tough guy and doesn't really think too much. Just wants to get his coal out. And he's in love with a woman, and of course it's Karen Morley, and she decides that she doesn't want to marry him. She runs off, and this just crushes Paul Muni's heart. And this is the scene where he learns that his fiance has left him is probably one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, and it really demonstrates how amazing of an actor Paul Muni really was, because first he gets angry and then he's like, why? What did I do? I don't understand. I was so nice to her, and you just really feel heartbroken with him. And that is the power of Paul Muni. Um, so be sure to keep your eye out for that scene. So after his fiance leaves him, he decides to get drunk. He has a lot of whiskey, and then he ends up in the middle of a workers' strike. The coal miners are striking against the union because they want more rights for them. They want to reform the union. They want more rights. They want more money. And he ends up being the spokesman somehow because they want to use him since he's so likable. Everybody likes him. They want him to be the voice and face of the strikers. And this movie, this is where things start to get political. That's why it's considered a political thriller. Um, this is actually based on a true story. In Pennsylvania, a strike they were striking in Pennsylvania with the coal miners, and one of the strikers was actually beaten to death by three police officers who were just hired police officers by the company, so they were private police officers. He was beaten to death, and it's important to note that he was a striker because in the film it was actually a pro-union guy that was beaten to death. So this film is obviously trying to say, hey, it's better to be pro-union than striker, because if you're going to be a striker, then you're just going to have a lot of violence, people might die, and it's better to have half a loaf of bread than nothing at all. And that is like the primary political theme of this film. The message they're trying to get across is don't be a striker, because you should be happy that you at least have a job. You have money, you have food on the table for your family, so just be happy with what you have. And so, of course, that's ridiculous from from this day and age to think that you shouldn't have change, but that's what made this film so controversial. And so it's against strikes, And scenes to note, other scenes to note are there, towards the end of the film, Paul Muni, he feels like he's the reason why the strikers are losing. So he barricades himself inside the coal mine, threatening to explode the place, to blow it up. And so what they do is they give in to his demands, but they don't give the strikers what they wanted. The only thing they get out of what Paul Muni does is put things back to how they were before the strike happened. So the strikers don't win anything. It just goes back to how it was. So that's another demonstration of how this movie is really trying to say, hey, strikers, you're not going to get anything if you go on strike. Just be happy with what you have. There's no point in going on strike. So very controversial stuff. Scenes to note. I already mentioned when Paul Muni's fiance left, but I really judge an actor's skill usually by how well they can cry in movies and how well they can play a drunk. And he does have a scene where he cries. It's very powerful, but he also has a couple scenes where he gets really drunk, and it's just hilarious to watch. Note how he says, "So long, kid! So long, kid!" So keep an eye out for when he's saying "So long, kid." It's really hilarious. You really get the feeling that he's drunk. And I'm gonna give this movie 3 stars, guys. So this movie wasn't a box office hit. It's kind of, and the reason for that is because it's pretty depressing. In my opinion, this is the type of movie that you show in history classes. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie at all. Some of the best movies should be shown in history classes. But just a little depressing. Paul Muni definitely carried this movie, definitely. He was actually not, he wasn't officially nominated for an Oscar, but back then they had the system where people could like give in a vote somehow, write in votes, and he actually came up in 2nd place for Best Actor. So that's just goes to show how strong his performance was in this, and it should get you to want to see it. This movie was banned in several countries, Spain, some places in, I believe, South America, and it was even banned in Chicago just because they didn't like the political statements that this film was making. So I'm going to try to show you my pictures that I have for you tonight and not knock anything down on my desk. But you can see I have a portrait of Paul Muni right under George Brent, who happens to be another one of my favorite actors. I hope you can see that. And so I wanted to share that portrait of him with you guys. And I also have another, I keep going dark on you guys. I have another movie poster for the film that is different from the one that I have in the video. It's in the bottom corner. You can see that. Just wanted to share those images with you all. So let me know what you think of Paul Muni. Maybe you love him just as much as I do. I don't want to ramble on too much, guys, but I'm not sure what my next review is going to be, so please write recommendations in the comments section. Give a like, subscribe, and have a good night, guys. Actually, I do want to mention that I'm going to start something new. So I usually do about 2 reviews a week, but I want to start something to where I do a horror film every Friday because I love horror films. So I would probably watch the Scary Movie on Friday and upload the review on Saturday. So that's something to look for in the future. Have a good night, guys. I'm Ian Patrick. See ya.